Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over the new Gems of War faction of Tinkertown, as well as some teams with it and basically everything. So as far as Tinkertown, it is associated to Adana, and is the second instance in the game that we ended up getting a red-yellow storm as far as its upgrades towards Adana. It ends up bringing it to 16 stars, which brings all of these extra rewards if you can end up upgrading it that far. Aside from that, we did of course get, as normal, our 4 new troops and the weapons. So let's go over those real quick. If we go over to the Tinker Kingdom. So everything here is pretty much dead content already. However, we do have the introduction, as I mentioned, of a second dual storm. This was a mechanic added several patches ago that was barely ever used. It was used for one other faction, but now we have it again. It is a red-yellow storm. This doesn't really have too many applicable uses. However, Sky Hero is a pretty good one, which is actually in Soulforge, coincidentally, this week. Not sure if they planned that, but Sky Hero is still in Soulforge for as long as this event will be around for next 3 days, all the way until Monday reset, as always is. But yeah, it's basically just a perpetual red-yellow storm. The other team that might be able to use this pretty well, however, I have yet to test it with it, is Divine Ishbala Quillen. I feel like it'd be rather clunky in a team, since you'd have to waste a whole slot for it. However, it is a very red-yellow heavy team that might be able to utilize it. But overall, I feel like this thing's pretty much going to be dead content, like everything here. It's the only thing in this kingdom that doesn't have a self-destruct chance, and it basically just summons a bunch of things from Tinkertown, and not including himself, since he can't summon himself. As far as all of his summons, they all have a chance to kill itself. Every single one of them has a 15% chance that they'll end up just taking themselves. We have a little bit of damage here that has a chance of doing a triple. We have this thing, which could actually theoretically be good. If you're up against a bunch of empowers, this creates 7 additional red per empower. So if you were up against like a double empower team, you could end up getting quite a bit of mana accumulation between it all, especially if you can get to a triple. Maybe if they did a Gorgoltha or something and they got to like 4 of them, you could end up getting a lot of mana. However, the instances where you would actually be able to get this to work are very, very slim, and to the point where you'd pretty much never bother using it. And every single time you cast it, has a 15% chance that it's just going to completely kill itself out, and then you won't be able to do anything. So overall, it's doesn't seem like it's going to be viable. It does have a little bit of extra mana to all allies as well, a quarter of their mana. But every single mechanic, or every single trip that has gotten this quarter mana mechanic, I feel like has been dead as well, as far as their usefulness. So overall, pretty bad. And this one, you'd probably actually use for pure faction. It's basically just a tank that has a bunch of explosion. It explodes all reds, deals some damage to the first enemy, boosted by his armor. Nothing too great, but 3-to-1, so if he has like 90 armor, that's 30 additional damage. Adds up to be a little bit, but of course he has a chance of self-destructing as well. But he is a little bit of skull reduction in there, so you can kind of use him as a temporary tank, get another resummon, and kind of go from there. Pure faction is likely to be that with triple of the legends. But anyways, that's pretty much everything with that. As far as the weapon, we do, of course, have the new weapon. This also is the first weapon, actually, that has a dual color attached to it. It gets to do an Electro Storm, which is red-yellow storm, whenever it casts. Everything else about this weapon is completely pointless, so you're never actually going to use this weapon. If you want that storm effect, you're simply just going to use that troop, and you probably don't even want that storm effect, so you'll probably use neither. But yeah, weapon overall, pretty bad. All of its perks, pretty bad as well. Not really worth using. However, if you do want to get it, it's 410 gems within the shop for the event, as well as you can get it in Soulforge. But as far as the event, of course, we have it going on. 1,110 gets through all of them, and then it's another 200 per each one of these packs. On a weekend event, you can get 500 pure faction done if you do every single room for about 1,910 gems or so. I normally do it to around 2,510 gems, which is 7 times of the tier 7, mostly in order to have a little bit better time on the pure faction, and just to be able to get it done a little bit quicker into the week. But yeah, 410 gems for the weapon there, and I believe at tier 4 you can also get all the stages done. I'm not sure if you need tier 4 or tier 5, but I believe if you do all room tier 4, you can end up getting through all the stages. So if that's your only goal and you have no intention of doing pure faction, pretty worth it, because you end up getting all the rewards, plus you end up still getting the weapon, and you don't have to go for it in Soulforge. So you kind of get a lot going on. As far as the layout of this delve, you basically have a bunch of paths that wind into a treasure room. All 3 of these are guaranteed treasure room. The top left all the way over here, the one over to this little corridor over to the side that you got to go out of your way for, and the one all the way to the right over here. From what I've seen so far, all 3 of these are a 100% chance of being a treasure room. Definitely not the overall best kingdom for farming. However, it does seem to have a decent amount of loot spread throughout. Obviously, it's not going to be better than that of City of Thieves, but it's still not bad with 3 treasure rooms. But they are pretty far away from the starting location. and the other rooms are normally pretty low level as well. But anyways, it is a 4-room if you want to go for quick kill, so a little bit longer path to quick kill, which is slightly concerning. However, you can go finesse build due to the high amounts of yellows that are here, since the first and last battle, I believe, both have like 2 or 3 yellows in them, respectively, or 3 and 2, I believe it is. So you will be able to go and get quite a bit extra damage off that. With that being said, let's go over a couple teams. So several things that we can end up using here. First off, we have Mountain Crusher, Harpy Mage, Gaard's Avatar, and Sir Quentin Hadley. A little bit more of an expensive one. However, for the lower level range, this basically is effectively a Rowan. And you just quick kill that until it stops killing. Wherever it stops killing, normally it stops killing around 80 to 100-ish. However, with potion effects, of course, that can be a little bit further. And if you're going for pure faction, your stats will likely be a little bit higher, so it will probably be able to go a little bit further than it normally would be able to. But quick killing with something like that, where that works out really good. As I was mentioning, Finesse. Finesse is a really interesting thing if you use it with Perpetual Yellow Storm off of the Stormcaller hero class, which you don't even need to be leveled. Just having it fully traded will get you that effect. Finesse is a super cheap thing that you get from the from your seal keys. So you randomly open seal keys from your guild, and you'll randomly be finding finesses, and you basically just use a bunch of these into your team, and you'll pretty much be good to go. It does a bunch of mana accumulation every single time it ends up casting when there's a storm, so you basically just keep spamming this ability down and keep doing that over and over and over again. Weapon, you can use pretty much anything in the game. Obviously, you can go a much cheaper weapon than Doomed Blade if you need to. However, using a Doomed weapon that does full AoE damage is probably your best bet, and I simply went with Doomed Blade, mostly because there's going to be a lot of red creation from or dependency at least on the enemy team based on the mechs having that kind of mechanic. So you're kind of want to have a anti-mechanic to that, so I just kind of went with that. But you can pretty much go any Doom weapon, and for that matter, pretty much any weapon in the game. Generally, your finesses are doing most of the work anyways. The other weapon is pretty much just whatever you want to use for cleanup for the rest of them. So super cheap team, probably the cheapest one out of all of them, minus just replacing out the weapon for something else. Next up, we have a Tesla team, kind of a little bit more of a mid-range one. It can run the entire way, however, it is advised to run a slightly different team for the earlier battles, as it can be slow early on, but does scale pretty well through the entire thing. So we do have a red-yellow restriction, so we are able to use Holy Stand Astra to give these Teslas their half-mana start. This works out pretty effectively. And of course, weapon is unaffected by the restriction, of course, for Delves. But basically, Tesla, she's actually in Soulforge this week too, oddly enough. A lot of things that are useful this week. Sky Hero for the Storm, Tesla for the event. I almost forgot about that, but yeah, she's available this week. She's one of the few legends I would say is actually worth getting to if you don't have a copy of her. I wouldn't necessarily go 2 copies of her, though, if you are lacking 2. Just get 1 and just like put something else there for mana accumulation, maybe a Harpy Mage or something. But she gets to do scatter damage, true scatter damage, based on all the armor in play, and it scales very well whenever the enemy has a lot of armor, and will basically allow you to go through the entirety of the Delves. You just use your Titan tank to tank everything out. Holy Saint Astra gives her a half mana start, because all humans gain half mana start, and of course Tesla is a human, so they both get half mana start. You get mana up really quick, especially with the enchant, and you'll pretty much be good to go, and just keep spamming out Tesla. Other than that, of course, traditional Irongut, well, a little bit differently because we can't go some of the better mana accumulation methods, but Harpy Mage still works well. Mountain Crusher into Harpy Mage, you get a bunch of Brownstorm, you get a bunch of Browns, you get a bunch of mana accumulation. High King Irongut, this is normal thing, devour like crazy, still among one of the best Delve troops in the entire game, and one of the main reasons why you would get it. Really good at high scale, the higher levels of Delves. And Mirage Queen is here mostly to have its anti-devour method. If you end up cursing them off of its ability, you'll be able to go and devour them. It also has a little bit of skull spam to boot, so it will sometimes get a kill from casting as well. It also has a half elemental start, however, that does not actually help this team at all. And other than that, pure faction. So lastly, I kind of already mentioned it, but the Smasho-bot with a bunch of the Tinkers is pretty much the best way to go. This is the only thing from the faction that does not have self-destruct. So the main strategy is likely going to be beef up like crazy to get as high stats as you possibly can. Keep using the Smash-O-Matic to keep mana accumulating for yourself until it ends up dying out. And just keep casting these until you have enough durability that you can kind of survive against the enemy. And you're basically playing a fatigue battle where they all just self-destruct and you win. And one nice thing is, due to how summoning works in this game, the enemy will summon based on their magic. So let's say he's a level 500 version of this, and he has, let's say, 200 magic. Well, he's only going to summon a level 200. So after that, it'll just keep getting lower and lower, the kind of levels. But then again, there's only one summon. So yeah, it's going to be around like a level 200-ish or 300-ish, whatever he does the summons on, which will be much lower stats than the main things that you're initially killing. So you should be able to just fatigue it and just keep poking it down with skulls. And yeah, it's going to be rather clunky. You could, of course, get resummons that might have additional damage, which you can end up using. Obviously, they won't all be Smasho bots. They can be any of the Tinkertown troops, so you might get one of the damage sources in doing so. However, it's going to be a very long battle, but overall, it's pretty much just luck based on them just killing themselves out and you buffing up to the point where they can't kill you. And just hoping you can kind of get lucky and take all the skulls that you see on the entire board every single time. Very slow faction, but it should be relatively easy. Of course, I haven't done it yet, but we'll be doing that this weekend. We'll be streaming, of course, all throughout this weekend. We'll be doing a larger stream this morning in about probably around 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time or so. And, of course, we stream every single night here on the YouTube channel at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we'll be doing Pure Faction probably tomorrow night. And because I don't think we'll have enough sigils yet. And tonight we'll just kind of be working towards progressing, as well as throughout the entire day. It's kind of messing with the faction. But anyways, guys, that'll wrap it up for this video. If you have any other questions about Tinkertown, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a wonderful weekend. Best of luck with the Tinkertown event that ends, of course, on Monday reset time. So you got the next 3 days. Goodbye, everyone.